Hey guys, so a lot of people are writing VSLs right now, so I thought this could be useful for you guys, right? We are on stutter number one of the day, you know how we do, right? So the first thing is here's how okay, so I'm gonna break it down, right? We're gonna read through it and we're just gonna go step by step. Hopefully it won't take too long. All right, so here's how I guarantee consistent 5K bumps for my sales coaching students by personalizing our approach instead of using a one size fits all coaching program. So it seems that to start off with a good VSL, you have to see what the status quo in your market is, right? So if you're like let's say you're a ghostwriter, right? And you know that the status quo is that most ghostwriters, they don't do a good job. They may give you attention, but they don't, build your money. They don't help you monetize or help you build a bigger business. So let's say I was a ghostwriter. The first headline I would write is probably something like the approach to ghostwriting that optimizes for building your business instead of building your following. Something like that, right? So that's the first thing is you challenge the status quo in the headline, right? And then right after that, you can throw rocks at the enemy. This line is not that good, but it's like I'm about to unmask, the 22-year-olds who sell you cookie cutter Google sales coaching. I'm just gonna delete that, right? But right here is where you could like attack the enemy of your ideal client, right? Because when you challenge the status quo, there's always the people who are in the status quo, you know? So we're both learning this at the same time because, VSLs are difficult and they're hard to write for me too. So let's just do it together. Why not? All right. So here's the approach that didn't treat Tanner like a number. So you can go from 0 to 12K a month in less than 90 days. A lot of things that work well is like similes, right? Because you can really paint an image in somebody's head of how the status quo treats them, right? And that's why they should go against it. So right here is more about, okay, what accelerated his success? This right here is more about what makes this program different, right? So then you can explain what the status quo does, right? And then immediately contrast it with the results that you bring, right? And then you can go into more into the status quo and then back to the results you bring. Just for the lead, right? So that people know that what you're talking about has value. Then what you could do is you can disqualify people that you don't want to work with, right? So if you're a ghostwriter, right, or in this case it's sales, if you haven't done sales before, you don't buy this. Click off the video, right? If you bought somebody else's coaching program, stay on. If you didn't like your progression, stay on. If you're looking how to get better with sales, stay on, right? So it's giving these people who are like checking off boxes in their heads. They're saying like, oh yes, 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 I did all this, right? I did all this stuff, right? So they're checking off boxes, and then you're talking to your ideal client right after they read this. Oh, if you're brand new to sales, don't speak English, never made more than 2K per month in sales, is not for you. They're like, okay, I'm not gonna waste my time. They just click off the video, all right? Now you're re-engaging your ideal audience because the audience that you disqualified, they're out of there. Like they're Babe Ruth, like home run, way out the field. Like they're gone now, right? So if you want to build these skills and want to land an offer to make 5K a month as a salesman, right? This video is for you. Keep watching, right? Then you go into a story, like a personal story, right? This is where people really, build up the emotional part of the sales, right? It's because they relate to your story, right? So, once upon a time, yada, 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 right? I had a problem within the status quo like you, right? This is the part they relate to, right? And here's why I decided to make a change, right? And once you're like, oh, once people realize why you decide to make a change, they're going to start thinking about reasons why they made a change, right? So we're like this, right? This is the structure so far. We have the headline that challenges the status quo. We have attacking the status quo. We have your results, right? What change you made that's different, right? Then you have disqualifying people. That's the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is you have a personal story, right? So this is just an all personal story going into why the change was made, right? And then you talk about what you do different, right? Now it comes into the more logical side of things, right? So it's like your beliefs, the sales process, finding an offer for you. There's a little guarantee in there to make things a bit spicier, if that's how you want to call it. And whew, okay, we're fresh off one stutter. I'm feeling good. So let's keep going. All right, let's see. Then you go like, okay, so you see the logic now, right back to the emotional part. In this program, I focus on turning you into the person who is capable of closing deals under high pressure while making enough money to pursue a life that fulfills you. Right? So they know how in this part. They know how you're gonna do it. Now they know what the transformation is. Right? This is very powerful. Right? And now attacking the status quo again. Right? And now here's more of the mechanisms. Right? You go through the mechanisms. And I notice what happens that's good after you talk about, your whole story and the mechanisms you use, and you attack the status quo, and you introduce a little bit of some, the story of your clients a bit, right? Here's where you can really start to dive deeper into your client's story, right? For the VSL, right? So now you can see how where the market, you can really tell where the market validates your offer, you know, right? And you can do this through a client story. So let's see, the shift becomes more evident as the days go on. Coaching is the best tool, right? Tanner started out, right? Now it's a client story. So here's the structure so far. We have a headline that attacks the status quo. Then we have, talking about the status quo again, right? Then we have talking about some client results, like a sneak peek. Then we have the disqualifying thing. Then we have a personal story, right? Then we have talking about the different mechanisms that we use against the status quo. Then we have now the client story, right? So now we're getting into the client story. It's kind of similar, but there's this part is based on more research that you do about your ideal client. Right? That one took a little bit to get to my mind, but yeah. So this is more about research. This part is not so much about story as it is about research, because if you can tell someone exactly what they're going through, they're going to be able to trust you more. All right? So that's good. All right, so coaching offers the individuals the guidance they need to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals, but what's the catch? Right? Now here's where the pain comes in. Right? Because when you have the pain here, after the client story, it's like, okay, here's where you could be, but here's where you are, right? It's a contrast, right? So after you have a client story, a good idea could be to put a contrast here, right? That's what I would do, at least, right? And let's see. Now we talk about the status quo, right? We throw rocks at the status quo, right? Now after you're throwing rocks at the status quo, it's like a similar structure again, back to what makes your offer different, right? So, you talk about what makes you different. Now here you're kind of competing on personality. If this is a new offer, I think it was Mason that said you got to compete on personality instead of skill if you don't have that much skill. Right? But for this guy, well, when we wrote this VSL together, he has like years of experience. But even so, still competing on personality and your mindset, right? The intangibles are very important. So, so we see where the focus is, and again, it's still attacking the status quo. Right? That's a big part of it, because if people believe that the status quo is better, they'll just keep doing what they're doing. Right? And the status quo is just—I should have said this at the beginning, but status quo is just the way the current market is right now. Right? It took me so long to understand that piece of information. Like, yo, every time somebody said status quo, I'd be like, yo, what are you talking about? Right? So after you get into attacking the status quo again, a lot of this is attacking the status quo, right? Because you have a full, like, pages and pages to be able to do that. Right? Then you introduce your mechanism again. Right? So, introducing strong draw sales, the program for people who know deep down that they are worth some figures, right? So inside it has all the mechanisms again, right? And then it just keeps going. and then it keeps talking about like what's different about the coaching. All right, so it's more about the mechanism again, and it really keeps going into the mechanism, and it keeps like it's building up like excitement in this part right after, because a lot of sales is building up excitement and showing that you have something different that's new that gets rid of what people don't like. All right, so that's what we all do here. All right, and I notice in a lot of VSLs, people they give information after that. Right? So they give a bunch of information here, right? They give information on what maybe not what their program is, but also just like value for their audience that would like help them even if they decide not to go through with this, right? So, and it's really telling a whole story of like, you know, status quo to potential objections, story, what makes us different, all this stuff, right? Because you have the space to do it, right? Especially with a video, and people are seeing your face, hearing your voice. It's like pretty easy at that point, right? So it's just going through back to what would be good if the transformation happens for the person, right? And it's more information, information, information. What makes you different? Information, 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 right? All this part is information right here. And once they have information, like they get to the end of the video and they're like, wow, I learned all this stuff and I don't know how to implement it, right? So then you just give them a call to action, all right? And that's the word. So, yep, I wrote this. I helped me and one of my clients, Jeff, wrote this together. So it was fun. And yeah, you guys have a good day. Peace. Only one stutter today. Only one.